Hi students, welcome to the 7th chapter of this MKT243 which on marketing channels. Basically, in chapter 5 and 6, we have learned on products. Okay, the first P that you learn, remember we have 4 Ps. Okay, so chapter 5 and chapter 6, I have covered products with you. And so in chapter 7 and also chapter 8, we are going talking about the second P, which is the place. Right, so for chapter 7, we first going to learn on marketing channels. Basically, we first will learn on the definition of it, and then we get to know what are the channel intermediaries and also their functions, and lastly, the consumer channel structure and also level of channel distribution intensity. Alright, so as for the introduction, now a marketing channel, right, or sometimes it is called the channel of distribution, right, is actually the set of interdependent organizations. That means they need each other, yeah, interdependent. All right, that facilitate the transfer of ownership as products move from the producer to the business users or the consumers. Bear in mind, when we talk about these marketing channels, typically we are talking about the movement of the goods from one party to another party. Right, so these parties, okay, are called the channel members, okay, also known as the intermediaries, resellers, and middlemen. Right, what they do, they normally negotiate with one another, buy and sell the products, and also facilitate the change of ownership between buyer and seller. You just imagine like this. Now, when we buy things, right, we as a consumer here, typically we will buy products from the shop. Okay, so the shop that we typically goes to is what we call here as a retailer. Okay, so the retailers are one of the channel members. All right, all of these are actually channel members. Yeah, outside here, as you can see, this is actually a supply chain, which is the connected chain of all the business entities that perform or support the marketing channel functions. So retailers, they will sell to the consumer. Okay, so retailers can get the products from the manufacturers, okay, from the logistic companies. All right, and then they do get products also from the suppliers or the distributors or the resellers. Okay, now we're not going to touch so much on the supply chain itself, just that you know that, as I told you just now, it's an interdependent organization where they need each other, all right, in order for them to move the products, okay, from the point of production to the point of consumption, which typically for the consumer or the customers that will consume or use the product. Now, so the supply chain will consist of upstream and also downstream partners. So the upstream partners, all right, or the upstream companies, okay, which are the firms that supply raw materials, components, parts, information, finances, and also expertise needed to create a product or service. Now you have to imagine like this. Upstream, those are from the point where the production of the product. You wanted to produce the product. So these are your upstream company, which will supply you a lot of materials, components, equipment, machineries for you to actually produce a product. If you are a manufacturer, okay, you will call them your upstream. Now, marketers have traditionally focused more on the downstream part, okay, which is the side of supply chain, which look forward towards the customers, where after the point of production has been made, okay, after the product has been made, then the downstream will be those parties or the companies or firms that will actually get the product to the customer. So getting the product to the customer may include some organization or companies that do packaging, that do labeling, that will do sorting, that might also do some logistic functions like shipping, all right, and making it move from the factory to the point where it can reach the consumers. Producers, okay, typically they will hire, producers are the one who are the manufacturers, yeah, okay, producers here, the manufacturers, the factory that produce it, the company that produce the product, okay, they will hire channel members to perform the tasks and activities such as transportation or even selling to the consumers that the producer is not prepared to perform, or that the intermediary is better prepared to perform those functions. So if let's say I am Nike, Oh yeah, by the way, you know Nike, they don't have their own factory, yeah? Nike typically will actually outsource. That means they will get other factories to produce the shoes according to their specification. So Nike here as the producer, they produce their shoes in the lab, yeah, in the laboratory, in their research and development warehouse, okay, or in their lab basically. So they have the shoes and then now they want to produce it. So where do they produce it? They will find a factory that will have the ability to produce exactly like what they want. Okay, and then what happens is that this factory, perhaps in China, okay, this factory will produce that particular shoes and then that's it, it's done. After that, what is next? They need to ship, they need to bring that particular shoes to all over the places, right? So that is when the producer Nike just now will hire the channel members to do the distribution of the shoes or the product. Got it? Now we are moving on to the second learning objective, which is types of channel intermediaries. There basically are three. Okay, there are three of them. The primary differences between these particular intermediaries is whether they do take or they do not take title to the product. Taking title to the product means basically they do take ownership or not towards the product that they carry. Retailers, okay, are the firms that sell mainly to consumers. All right, what they do take title to the goods which they sell. For example, Emart. Okay, Emart is a retailer. You know Emart, right? Supermarket. Okay, so Emart is a retailer. So what Emart do is that they buy all the products, the groceries items, okay, household items in the shop or in the Emart itself, and they sell it to the consumer. So whatever is inside Emart shop is all belongs to Emart. That means they take title, they take ownership towards the product that they sell. All right. Next, you have merchant wholesaler. This merchant wholesaler facilitate the movement of products and services from the manufacturers to producers, resellers, government institutions, and also retailers. And typically, this merchant wholesaler will take title to the goods that they sell. Now, merchant wholesaler, they buy things in bulk. Later, I will explain you further on this merchant wholesaler. Yeah? You need to know here is that merchant wholesaler do take title to the goods that they sell. Lastly, agents and brokers. Okay, agents and brokers, they facilitate the sales of a product from the producer to the end user by representing those producer or manufacturer. Okay, so they represent to the retailers, wholesaler or manufacturers, and they do not take title to the products that they sell. Okay, so remember, the retailers and also merchant wholesaler, they do take title of the goods, they do own the products, but agents and broker, they don't take title to the products that they sell. Next, let's look at the functions performed by intermediaries. Basically, there are three functions performed: transactional function, logistical function, and facilitating function. The transactional functions could include contacting or promoting the product, doing some negotiating, and also risk-taking. That is transactional functions examples. Yeah. Logistical examples, all right, which considered as movement. It involves the movement of the product itself. The transaction is more on paper. Okay, on paper about contacting, promote how you want to make sure that this product will be sold to the customer, market will actually want to buy the product, okay, negotiate about the price, and also taking the risk about, let's say, if I sell it to you, you own it, and then you will actually take risk towards this particular product, or maybe you don't take the whole risk, all right? So those are the transactional function. Typically, this is our own paper. While logistical functions are actually related to the product itself, okay, physically distributing the product, storing the product. Perhaps you have the big warehouse where you can actually store a lot of goods inside that particular warehouse, so storing it, and sorting. Okay, don't get confused with storing. Storing is you keep it, while sorting is you sort, you put it into a system, okay, it could according to some grades, okay, or some quality and so on, right? And lastly, the third function performed by intermediaries is facilitating function. Facilitating is on helping the intermediaries perhaps to do some research or about financing facilitation. All right, next. Now, the transactional function just now will include you contact and communicate with prospective buyers to make them aware of existing products and explain their features, advantages, and also benefits. So this is actually explaining again what is actually logistical function, okay, and also the facilitating function. I will not go through this. You can read by yourself, right? Now, these are some of the other examples of channel intermediaries function. Okay, it could be gather and distribute information, engage in some promotion of the product, contacting prospective buyers, matching offer to the buyer's need. Okay, in negotiating, like I told you just now, physical distribution, like you have the aeroplane, okay, air cargo, or a very big lorry, container lorries, all right, or a train that you need to engage into so that you can actually bring the product to the customers. Okay, finance transactions along the channel, all right, by giving them some credits. Credits here means you can take the product first, pay later. Okay, that is based on credits, all right, and assume risk of the channel works by telling them what could be some of the risks or how much risk that will incur when they actually carries or take title on the products that they are selling. Okay, now tasks. Okay, task. First of all, here I have changed. It's actually providing the contact efficiency. Yeah, contact. Can you change that in your slides? Contact. Yeah. Now there are 3 channel members tasks. Don't get confused with channel members function. Yeah, functions are in what way that they can actually help to do to the channel members. But the tasks here are the task how or what can be done. What can the intermediary do? Okay, what can the intermediary or the channel members do? First, they can do specialization and division of labor, where they provide efficiency and cost savings. They can attain economies of scale, right? The channel members can also aid the producer who are lack of resources to market directly the product. Okay, and can build good relationship with the customers. This is when you talk about specialization and division of labor. Why you don't sell the product yourself? Let's say I have a factory. Why I don't sell the product by myself? Because perhaps I may not have this specialization and I may not have the labor to do it. So what I do is that I engage to the channel members so that they can provide me this. All right. Second task can be done by the channel member is to overcome discrepancies. All right, there are 4 types of discrepancies. First, discrepancy of quantity, which is the difference between amount of product produced and the amount an end user want to buy. You imagine like this: I'm an ice cream factory. So in my factory, I will produce a lot of ice cream. Okay, I can't afford to produce one piece or one stick of ice cream just for you. All right, so what I do is I will produce in large quantity, but consumers, they don't want to buy the whole lot of ice cream. Where would they want to put? Because keeping ice cream in your refrigerator will consume a lot of space in your refrigerator. So typically end user will only buy 1, 2 or 3 or even 10 if you have 10 members in the family. All right, so but my factory produce in large quantity in what they call it, in order for me to earn profits, I can't afford to sell only one item to one customer. Okay, what I can do is that I will sell in large amount to the wholesaler or to the retailers. So that is when the channel member here, a retailer for example, will actually buy in that large quantity and put in their fridge. And when customer go to their shop, to the supermarket, they just can take 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 ice cream and they buy it. So the discrepancy of quantity happen when the producer will produce large quantity, but consumer will not want to buy that large quantity. So the channel member's task is to overcome this discrepancy of quantity. Second is the discrepancy of assortment, okay, which is the lack of all the items a customer needs to receive full satisfaction from a product or the products itself. Now, channel members will help to assemble or give the assortment to the customers. when manufacturer produce things, right, they will only produce one item as what they know how to produce, or they are asked to produce, okay, according to their specialty or capability. Okay, what happens is that when you talk about, let's say an example, yeah, your I'm not so sure. Let's say, I don't know. Do you know the toy, the car, the toys car lah? Okay, the car toys. Let's say we take about the simplest one, torchlight. Okay, a torchlight. Now, in order for you to use a torchlight, you will need batteries. Okay, so the producer of torchlight, they will only produce torchlight. They may not want to produce batteries. So that's why typically when they sell torchlight, they will say that you will need 3 or 2 AA batteries or AAA batteries, all right, which are not included in the packaging. Okay, so what channel members typically do is that they sell together. The channel members are the one that will bundle together. So that's why you go to Mr. DIY, for example. Okay, Mr. DIY is actually one of the retailer, okay, which is channel member. So Mr. DIY will sell and pack the torchlight with 2 pieces or 3 pieces of battery, where it can actually overcome this discrepancy of assortment. All right, I hope you can understand that. Next, the temporal discrepancy. Temporal is a situation that occurs when a product is produced but the customer is not ready to buy it. Okay, so this is talking about temporary situation. Temporal is about temporary. Yeah. Now, we are talking about the time of production and the time when customer want to use it or want to have it. Now, now is December, so Christmas is around the corner. Okay, now those Christmas items, yeah, are not produced this month. Okay, especially let's say the Christmas trees. All right, when do the producers start to produce Christmas trees? They don't produce this month because it will not be able to reach consumer by the time of December. So typically, the producer will produce perhaps in early of the year. Okay, so early of the year, they will already start producing all the Christmas trees or Christmas items, all right? And then they will ship it to the channel members, okay, along the way, and it consume time. And once it reach the consumers, then it will be just in time for people to ready to buy those items. Okay, like after Christmas, then you have New Year, and then after that you have the Chinese New Year. Okay, so the producer, right, let's say for what they call it, Chinese New Year, what are the things that people normally buy? The mandarin orange, sure or not? When do you think the farmers start to make sure that all their mandarin trees will be fruiting, okay, ready to harvest? It's not like by the end of the year whereby you are about to reach the Chinese New Year. No, okay, so typically they will actually make sure that those fruits are ready to be shipped, okay, from China, from everywhere around the world, to reach all the market by the time it is ready for the consumer to buy the product. So that is temporal discrepancy. Lastly, the spatial discrepancy. The spatial is talking about the space, yeah, space lah, right? So the difference between the location of a producer and the location of the widely scattered markets, right? So producer perhaps can't afford to go to each and every country or each and every places to open up their own shop. So that is why they need these particular channel members to overcome this spatial discrepancy, whereby instead of me as a producer open up my own stores, my own shop at each and every location where there are markets, what I can do is actually I can just sell to the retailers, and retailers will bring that particular product everywhere. Okay, let's say for example 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is everywhere, isn't it? You can find it everywhere in your neighborhood. Okay, so instead of me open up my own shop, I might as well just ask 7-Eleven to sell the product for me, so that I don't have to actually rent a shop lot, okay, hire workers to actually sell the products that I am selling. So that is what it means by the spatial discrepancy. right? And the third task done by the channel member is providing the contact efficiency, which products are available close to the customer's residence and the quantity is available always in the right one, okay, at the right time. Okay, I think you can see here how does it providing the contact efficiency. Now imagine there is no channel members. Okay, so let's say you as a customer, you wanted to buy, let's say this is a home theater system. Okay, home theater system. If you want to buy, if you want to, let's say, of course when you want to buy things you will do some shoppings, right? Not you call it, you survey barang, but this is actually what you do. You go and find at one store, another store, okay, after that to go another store and other places. For each brand you need to go to many places, okay, while producer will also get a lot of customers with, let's say, without intermediary, you will see 5 producers here times 4 consumers, you will have 20 transactions. But if there is a circuit city is just like thank you know, like a Harvey Norman, right? So it is a channel member, a retailer. The manufacturer can just bring or sell the product to the retailer here, the Secret City or thank you or the Harvey Norman, right? And customer will only just need to go to one place instead of going to 5 places, okay? And the producer also do not have to deal with many customers or consumers. They just need to deal with one shop, okay? And it will actually reach same consumer. So it can reduce to the only 9 transactions, 5 producer, okay, plus 4 consumers. They are at the secret city. So that is when it provides this contact efficiency, so that it reduce time, it reduce the energy consumption by everybody, okay, that you have to entertain every customer, and every customer also need to go to a lot of places, right? Instead you just go to one place and you can get to compare all other brands of the manufacturer's product, right? Isn't that better? Yes, isn't it? Okay, moving on to the third part of the chapter, which is channel structure. So basically there are 4 channel structures that you're going to learn in this chapter, which direct channel, retailer channel, wholesaler channel, and agent or broker channel, right? Now it is simple. If it is direct, that means producer will sell directly to the consumer without any intermediaries. Typically, this can be done if you have a lot of resources, okay, a lot of resources, of course money as well, and also human resources to sell directly to the consumer, okay. And typically also producer cannot producer need to choose this direct channel because they are actually selling services, because remember services, they cannot be transferred to another party in order for consumer to consume it, okay. So that's why it is actually a direct channel. A retailer channel is when producer will engage into a retailer or some retailers, okay, not necessarily only one retailer, yeah, it can be many retailers, but as long as they are engaging with all the retailers, and then consumer can get the product from the retailers. So that is what we call the retailer channel. A wholesaler channel, of course, it will involve the wholesaler. Then the wholesalers will sell to the retailers and retailers will sell to the consumers. And the longest one is the agent or broker channels, where it involves the agent and broker, wholesalers, retailers, and also the consumers. Next, there are also what we call it the multi-channel distribution. Okay, multi-channel. That means producer, they don't only choose either this, or this, but they do multi-channel distribution, making use of all the channel members, okay, and they also do direct channel, okay, producer directly to the consumer using internet or their catalogs, right, or even on their social media. Nowadays also you can just order directly from Instagram, right? Not okay, or it can be to the retailer. Sorry, I missed the what I call it, an arrow here. There's supposed to be an arrow here also, okay. Let me write down my pen. So retailer also, okay, may reach to the another segment of the consumer, okay, and so on. Next one, okay, what happened here? Let me choose laser pointer. All right. Okay, so one channel, okay, is the direct channel just now. Remember, direct channel means producer to the consumer directly. So we call it the one channel. That means only one involved, which is the producer or the manufacturer, which entails the producer selling directly to the consumers. Okay. Now the longest or the typical channel found for the consumer product is the agent or broker channel. Okay, which agent and broker will bring the manufacturers and wholesalers together for the negotiation, and ownership then pass from one or more wholesaler to the retailers, and finally retailers will sell to the consumers. Okay. While the retailer channel is used when the retailer is large and can buy in large quantities direct from the manufacturer. Now, not all retailers can afford to buy in large quantity, just like the wholesaler. Wholesaler is also the merchant wholesaler, yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, sometimes it is just the wholesaler, or sometimes it is the merchant wholesaler. But basically, they are the same one, right? Now, the retailers, sometimes they are small. Okay, when they are small, they can't afford to buy from the manufacturer. That is when the retailer will actually buy from the wholesaler here. Okay, if the retailers are big enough, for example, you remember Giant, right? Giant, they are big enough. Or Tesco, all right? Tesco is a retailer. Carrefour, what else? The big retailers. Even E-Mart also, they are a big retailer. Why? Normally they have large outlet and they have many branches. Okay, so you can tell that this retailer, they can afford to buy in large quantity because they have many branches to bring those products to different branches. Alright, but there are also small retailer, like for example kedai runcit Pak Abu. Okay, so kedai runcit Pak Abu may not be able to buy directly from the producer. So Pak Abu, the owner of kedai runcit or the grocery store, will buy from the wholesaler, because wholesaler will sell in smaller lot. Okay, although not in one or two quantity, but in a smaller lot. All right, so then the kedai Pak Abu, okay, can get the product from the wholesaler, and people in kampung where kedai Pak Abu is located at can actually buy from kedai Pak Abu. Okay, so that is retailer channel. And the wholesaler is often used for the low cost, frequently purchased items such as candy and gums, right? And the wholesaler purchase large quantities and break it into smaller lots, which are sold to the retailers. Okay, so wholesaler typically, when you buy your snacks, yeah, typically your snacks, then you will read on the label. They will mention their distributed by this particular company, but then you don't buy from that company, you buy from Everrise, for example, but that distributor is actually the wholesaler that will actually distribute the product to these retailers like Everrise, and you will get it from Everrise. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, next one. What makes people want to choose either to use one channel, two channel, okay, retailer channel, or wholesaler channel, or should I use multiple channel, right? So there are factors affecting the channel choice, which you can look at the market factors, product factors, and also producer factors. There are also level of distribution intensity that is set by the manufacturer, whether they want to do intensive distribution, selective distribution, or exclusive distribution. Now let's look at what are the factors that affect channel choices. The first one, customer profile. This is when you talk about market factors, yeah? Market factors. Customer profile, where do these customers located at? All right, are they buying your product? You're talking about the demographic factors, okay? How frequent would they buy the product? Okay, what are their age? Would they actually able to buy the product themselves, or do they need parents to buy the product? Okay, is it for male or for female? Those things, all right? This is typically customer profile. Okay, next is whether it is actually a consumer or industrial customers or the business customers. Okay, and then the size of the market, how big are they? And when you talk about geographic location, how scattered are they, or how concentrated are they at certain location? Okay. Next is the producer factors. Producer factors will be looking in terms of whether the product is complex or not. Okay, is it complicated to use? If it's complicated, typically you will use agent or broker. Alright, because when you sell it at the retail outlets, yeah, you don't have people to actually explain to you about the product. Okay, next you look at the product price. Typically, the cheaper one will use longer channel, but the more expensive one will use shorter channel. When I say shorter channel, that means you will either use a direct channel or only one or two in the intermediaries. Okay, next you want to also look at the stage of your product life cycle, right? And the product delicacy. Product delicacy here includes the perishability of the product. Okay, how delicate is the product? Like you're selling fish, for example. You want to sell a fresh fish. You can't afford to sell the fish through or using a very long channel. Okay, unless it is a frozen one, then you can actually use the retailer channel and wholesaler channel. But if you are talking about vegetables, for example, you can't freeze. You cannot freeze the vegetables, right? Your kangkong, spinach, and all those things. The fresh ones, all right. You will need to make sure that you use shorter channels, all right. And of course, you know when you want to get the fresh one, of course, you need to go to the wet markets, okay, or the what they call it, pasar minggu, right, to get all those fresh vegetables, because these are typically the farmers who sell directly to the consumers. Okay. Next, you also need to look at the producer factors in terms of the producer's resources. Okay, the size of managerial, the financial, and also marketing resources that they have, number of product lines. If you only have one product line and then you want to open up one shop just to sell that one product line, it may not be viable. Okay, so if you have many product lines and you can afford to open up your own shop to sell everything under one roof, then you may want to use your own direct channel. But if not, then you might use the retailer channel or wholesaler channel, right? And the desire for the channel control. Now, bear in mind that the moment you pass the product as a manufacturer, when you pass the product to the channel members, remember they take title, they take ownership of the product. So you will not be able to control the price of the product anymore. Okay, by the time when it reaches the customer, you do not know whether the price can be very high or can be very low. All right, so if the producer would like to control, okay, about the pricing, the positioning, the brand image, okay, and also some of the customer support, typically you will use the direct channel, right? Next is the level of distribution intensity. Okay, you may want to look in terms whether you want to do intensive distribution, selective, or exclusive. In terms of number of outlets, if it is intensive distribution, intensive means many outlets. Okay, selective is about in the middle. Okay, not so many but not so few. But exclusive distribution intensity, you only have few number of outlets. Typically, it will be using the direct channel, which is the manufacturers or the producer's shop sells directly to the consumers. Okay. So intensity distribution is aimed at having a product available in every outlet where target consumer might want to buy it. And many convenient goods and supplies have this intensive distributions, right? They are typically low value, frequently purchased products that may require a long channel of distribution. Intensive distribution typically related to the convenience products. Remember, you have learned about the types of products, right, in chapter 5. So convenient products are normally sold in passive distribution. Next, selective distribution. This selective distribution is when the distribution is done to achieve by screening dealers to eliminate all but a few in a single area. They purposely do not want to sell everywhere, all right? But they just want to choose perhaps one retailer or one distributor, one shop in one area. Okay, the selective distribution strategy often hinge on a manufacturer's desire to maintain the superior product image. Okay, because you don't want it to make it available everywhere because of the product image. Okay, you want to preserve some what they call the premium quality or premium or the exclusiveness of the product, but not so exclusive. Yeah, still normally it is related to the shopping goods. Okay. Now, when we talk about exclusive distribution, okay, this is the most restrictive form of distribution, where it entails establishing one or a few dealers within a given area. And consumer specialty goods, okay, a few shopping goods and major industrial equipments typically use this exclusive distribution. Okay, the limited distribution will aid in establishing a prestige image of exclusiveness for the product that they wanted to sell. Okay, I give you the example here, like there's no Rolex brand there, but it's actually you're talking about Rolex, for example. You can't buy Rolex anywhere at any watch shop right now. You can only get it at Rolex shop. Okay, and in Kuching, for example, you can only get Rolex watch at the Spring, only at the Spring there. Then they have their own outlet, okay, which is the authorized distributor of Rolex. Okay, now bear in mind that sometimes when you talk about this particular level of distribution intensity, right, not necessarily it has to be convenient goods is intensive, shopping product is selective, and specialty product is exclusive, not necessarily, but it could be, okay, the same products, like for example chocolates. Okay, chocolates. Now chocolates, Cadbury, for example, use intensive distribution, whereby you can get Cadbury chocolate everywhere at many supermarkets, 7-Eleven, and yeah, almost every stores. Okay, you go to the H&L, you go to Everrise, Emart, where else? Many other shops, you will find Cadbury chocolate. Okay, but for Ferrero Rocher chocolate, for example, they use selective distribution. It's still a chocolate, but because it's Ferrero Rocher, they wanted to keep some what they call it, brand image of the chocolate, so they don't sell it at every supermarket, but certain supermarket only, selected supermarket only. Then you can get the Ferrero Rocher. Now, on the other hand, when you talk about Godiva chocolate, do you know what is Godiva chocolate? You can try to Google it, yeah? Godiva chocolate is an exclusive distribution whereby you can only get that Godiva chocolate at their authorized or at their dealers. That means Godiva chocolate, they don't sell it at any supermarket, okay? They typically sell at their own Godiva outlet. And this outlet are also very exclusive. Normally, they are located at KLCC, okay? Greenly Paragon. I think in KLCC, no KLCC, yeah, KLCC, and also KLIA, right? Even, yeah, one in Imago, I think they do have that Godiva shop that sells their chocolate, and the taste is so nice. You should try, but it's so expensive. Okay, so it is still chocolate. Intensive, Cadbury. Selective, like Ferrero Rocher. Exclusive, like Godiva chocolates. All right. So here I have summarized for you on the objective, okay, the intensity level, and also number of intermediaries. You can go through this and look at it. All right. And then that's it. We have finished chapter 7. Okay, if you have any questions, please ask me in our Telegram chat. Thank you guys. Bye.